It's Taste of Country Nights with Evan Paul on demand, Season 2, Episode 45 with the guys of Shenandoah.
And we found ourselves in a complex business and music that had changed a great deal since we had left it. You know, I mean, the charts are not even... Somebody goes, man, tell me what the charts are. I ain't got no idea what the charts are.
Yeah, I don't either.
I ain't got a clue. Somebody said, well, you know, you got a #1 record. And go, really? Man, that's fantastic.
That's awesome. We had a good time with the guys from Shenandoah, reminiscing about the past and talking about the future. You know, they have the song that 2 Dozen Roses that they redid with Luke Combs, and it became that #1 hit that they're talking about. Hop on in here. Taste of Country Nights on Demand, where we interview some of your favorite country artists. In the past, we've had Toby Keith, Dolly Parton, Jelly Roll, Garth Brooks, Ronnie Dunn. Always talking to your favorite country music superstars. Just search for Taste of Country Nights on Demand wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Hope you enjoy this one. Evan Paul here, hanging with the guys in Shenandoah, man. What's going on?
Man, everything's going on, Evan. It's just kind of blowing up right now.
What's it like being brand new to the country scene?
Well, you know, tell you the truth, there's truth in that statement. It really is. I mean, you know, with this new thing with Luke, and of course, you know, and it's nothing but an older. It's a newer bottle of an older bottle of wine with 2 Dozen Roses with Luke.
Right.
But yeah, you know, I mean, which, you know, we have noticed that there's been a lot of young folks that have been coming to the shows, and a lot of folks that are replying to a lot of different things that we've been doing media wise and stuff we've been seeing that's been floating around and stuff. So yeah, I mean, it really is kind of a new feat here.
How is it? Well, I know like you guys have been on tour this whole time, but like, is it almost like being back into the spotlight? Is it almost like feeling like you were in jail and you just got out and there's like new technology? You know what I'm saying? Like when you did interviews for radio, it probably wasn't any cameras and there wasn't social media clips and stuff. Like, how's that aspect different for you guys?
Well, to be honest with you, I mean, that's really what we've tried to get to. I mean, I'd left the group for 17 years and then started back, in 9 years ago, and we've been trying to steadily work toward where we work, because we just didn't believe that we were finished. We didn't believe we'd said everything we wanted to say, and we found ourselves in a complex business and music that had changed a great deal since we had left it. I mean, the charts are not even. Somebody goes, man, tell me what the charts are. I ain't got no idea what the charts are.
Yeah, I don't either.
I ain't got a clue. Somebody said, well, you got a #1 record. And go, really? Man, that's fantastic.
That's awesome.
And, the label goes, we're going to throw you a #1 party. And go, for what? So, yeah, I mean, it's just, it's really changed that much. But, we just really want to be relevant, and we're relevant too.
Well, how did the whole thing with Combs come about? And was it him that got to you guys?
We were seeing videos. Actually, he was doing it in his show.
Okay,
and several people sent us videos. I can't remember. Did we run into him at one of the award shows?
Well, yeah, but we'd run into him before a couple of years previous. Well, in 2019, it was before COVID. And I'd went over to where he was at, and I told him, I said, bro, you better turn your hat around. He goes, what? I said, you better turn your hat around. He goes, and he looked at me kind of puzzled, and I said, man, you ain't going to know whether you're going or coming here in just a minute. And I never realized that male vocalist was the next award.
Wow.
And then all of a sudden and then they called everybody to get back in their seats. Sat down and they called male vocalist.
He probably thought you'd already looked in the envelope, didn't he?
So anyway, so when he started making his way up there, I just give him the old thumbs up, And but anyway, and since then there's been kind of a camaraderie of look, man, I'm a big Luke Combs fan. I always have.
Yes.
There's a lot of cats out there. Man, I love Cody Johnson, Dirks, Luke Bryan. Jason Aldean. I mean, just Blake. A bunch of those cats, man. Yeah, Blake's been a good buddy of ours. And
you got any good Blake stories?
No, I hear that there's a lot of people that do.
We're working on a few, though.
Okay. Let's talk about earlier in the year. You cut a song that FGL wrote. Or earlier, yeah. And there was like a hint to Shenandoah in the song. Did you guys add that, or was that something that Brian and them wrote?
No, I'll let Mike throw that in
there. We were doing a thing. The CMA folks asked us to come be a part of a surprise thing for Bob DePiro. A lot of the people that Bob had written songs for, he's a songwriter, and he wrote Church on Cumberland Road for us. And that's why they invited us. They wanted us to come surprise Bob for this event they were doing, and there was a lot of other people backstage that were going to come out and do the same thing. They were going to sing a song that they had recorded that Bob had written. And while we were backstage, I remember Kelsey Ballerini was back there, and Tyler Hubbard from Florida Georgia Line was back there, and we were about to go in the studio and record. And I just was talking to him and said, "Hey, man, have you got anything to be good for Shenandoah? We're fixing to go in and cut a new record." He said, "Oh, man, I got some great stuff for you guys." So he sent, I think it was 10 songs, and I was going through all the songs, listening to them, and his song popped up, and I played it to Marty. I said, "Man, we got to cut this."
Like
song.
You can almost hear Florida Georgia Line singing it. You guys really captured it.
But the lyric content in there that changed, that actually wasn't on the original right when we got it.
Oh, okay.
In fact, Mike and Noah Gordon, our producer, was the one that came next to me, or whether Mike did it or Noah. It was a change that we did before we did it.
I was the one that came up with it, but it was just a rhyming thing is what it was. It rhymed. It had an E rhyme. And I thought, man, we need to put, next to me in there.
Yeah.
So that's how that happened.
Okay, that's cool, man.
But I didn't get any writer credits.
You better go back to
there's 4 writers on it, so it was skinning pretty thick anyway.
Okay, that makes sense. What's it like to be the artist that people look up to? Like, in a sense, like, you remember back when you guys first came in a sense now you're the juniors, the seniors in high school, and people are starting to write songs that are tributes to your songs. What's that like being on the other side?
Well,
it's flattering for sure.
Yeah, it's very humbling, to think that somebody would think that much. But look, when you first start out, Evan, it's just like you can say the same thing. I could ask the same thing about your career. Did you ever believe 38 years ago that you'd be sitting here in Nashville, Tennessee, doing this today?
No, not at all.
Because nobody thinks that way.
You're right. Yeah, you're right.
But the only thing in the world that honest and truly that we've ever known how to do, even when I was gone or whatever, the only thing that we ever know how to do is to try to go and keep our foot on the gas. Some days you go 15 miles an hour, and some days you go 150. And so, therefore, some of the things that we've done, we knew that we had to cut literally the greatest songs we get our hands on, the best material that we knew that would apply to nobody, not to a certain group, just the best song we could get our hands on. Because 9 times out of 10, if you pick the best song, everybody else is going to like it. So, and I really honestly and truly believe that's been our longevity is the material. Moon Over Georgian. I want to be loved like that, and of course, 2 Dozen Roses and
Sunday in the South.
Church on Cumberland Road, and it's just songs that have been able to kind of weather and stand the test of time. No matter what the charts do, no matter what the music does, it seems to be recurrent, and we see that every time we take the stage. I mean, we're thinking, currently right now, everybody's going to be yelling for 2 Dozen Roses. Man, everybody's yelling for, Moon Over Georgia and Mama Knows and, Vicinity of the Heart and, this kind of stuff. You get thinking, man, wow. So, the younger audience, as we were speaking about a while ago, they've been watching. And that they've been watching because they ain't just singing the chorus on. When you halfway know something, you sing a chorus.
Yeah.
But when you know it, you sing the verses.
True.
So I'm down front. I'm singing. So I'm looking at these young people, and they're singing all of it.
That's crazy.
And my bad thing is man, I'm gonna miss a lyric because I'll get on Ranger speed every once in a while, and I'll miss a lyric.
People look at you like,
change that?
You all right? Yeah. Well, like Church on Cumberland Road kind of started like Rascal Flatts' career.
Yeah, they said the first song they ever sang together was that. They were on the side of the stage about to go on, and they said, one of them said, "Is there anything that we all 3 know together? We're about to go on here." and somebody said, "Y'all know any Shenandoah songs?" And somebody said, "I know Church on Cumberland Road."
Boom.
They were like, "Well, we all know that one," so that's what.
And
they
y'all
did.
have outlasted them. I mean, they're not touring anymore or whatnot, so there's something to that. You know what I'm saying?
Well, we love what we do, man.
Yeah.
We've been doing it a long time, and it's great. I tell people all the time, going out on the road is kind of like going camping with the guys. It's just in a big, metal tube, that we're camping in. But everybody's got their own little cubby hole in the bus, and and we just really enjoy each other's company and playing our music for the fans.
Do you guys have any original Shenandoah merch, like from back in the day?
I do. Yeah.
Really?
Sure.
Yeah.
Like, what do you got? Like,
I got some old T-shirts.
My
and
mom
some
kept
old ball
everything.
caps.
really? Like unworn?
Yeah.
Wow. That's awesome.
And again, I didn't keep them for any other reason other than thinking that man, I'd wear them someday. But then they got put in a plastic box, and before you know it, they were put up in the attic and getting Christmas stuff down. I keep threatening, I'm gonna get this stuff out.
You should.
And we had a guitar player, Jamie Michael. That was, he was just, man, you got any vintage Shenandoah swag? So I pulled him out. I pulled him out a shirt and brought it to him. And man, you'd have thought it was already Christmas.
What about Combs? He's a vintage guy. You guys should send him an old Shenandoah shirt.
Yeah, that's a good idea. We ought to.
Yeah, he loves vintage stuff. I think that would be awesome.
What we should start doing is making the vintage stuff.
Yes, and re-putting them out, not telling anybody.
Yeah, but I ain't got time for antiques.
Yeah. What are some difference in the actual logistics of touring from the 80s and 90s to now? What has changed over the years that's different? Like your rider, like what's on your backstage list? Are the trucks different from vans?
We got the internet on the bus now.
Okay.
And a satellite dish. I remember back, and this time of year is a good time to tell this, but we were always Braves fans. And I can still remember, and I know Marty does too, we'd be traveling down the road, and the Braves would be playing in the playoffs, and we're wondering what the score was because we have no television to pick it up. And once we got close enough, like if we were going through
into a big city,
a big city, we could pick up the signal for maybe 20 minutes, just from the antenna on the television.
Yeah.
But and now here the Braves are in the playoffs again. So, but yeah, being on a bus and being able to have a satellite dish on the bus and watch anything you want to, and having the internet on the bus. I mean, golly, back in our day, that was unheard of.
Okay.
But as far as anything changing it really hasn't. We bring our front of house console. And we bring our own monitor rig. And, lights and stacks is pretty much about near all that really has changed for us in the last little bit. Our rider, people honestly, too, they get surprised at our rider. We don't get alcohol on our rider. We don't get beer. We don't get, we get Fresca.
Okay, yeah.
And I think they cuss us more because Fresca's harder to find.
It's hard to find, yeah.
And if they don't, then we get to Dr. Peppers.
Fresca's going to hear this, and the next thing we know, we're going to be endorsed by them.
Yeah. I hope so.
These assholes want Fresca. How are we going to find
Fresca?
that?
Do they still make that? They do, and it's absolutely delicious.
It is.
I love it. And peanut butter and jelly. Yeah. I can guarantee you go to our bus right now, and I bet you there's 21 jars of peanut butter on our bus right now. 21 jars of it.
Wow.
And it can be either Peter Pan or Jif. Doesn't make any difference.
Oh, really? Creamy or chunky?
No, it's got to be creamy.
Okay. Yeah. That's interesting.
And the loaves of bread. I mean, Lord, we got enough, man.
They've got to put some kind of chemicals in that bread, Marv. That bread's been in that pantry for
Since
2
February.
months, and it's still good.
We got bagels that have been there since last year. But it goes good with the Fresca.
That's how, the Fresca. It goes down good. What is can you tell me about your best show ever and your worst show ever?
The worst one, I'll throw this in here. We played a little place in Oklahoma. Was it Sallisaw, Corky's Finish Line?
Yeah, Corky's Finish Line. This
was in the early days of our career. We didn't have a bus yet. We were still in a van.
Yeah,
but we went in there to play that. It was a little bitty nightclub, And I remember us doing sound check that day, and my eyes just were burning. I couldn't figure out why my eyes were burning. Well, we get up that night to do the show. Somebody had the whole stage was wired from one extension cord, and it was rolled up on a big spool right below the drum riser. I'm the drummer. And so during the show, I started seeing smoke, and I looked down, and all the plastic on the extension cord had melted. It looked like a big ant bed. And there was just naked wires sitting there, and then poof, it caught on fire right in the middle of our show. And we had to evacuate the building. The whole thing did.
Hey, did you know yesterday was a Hug a Drummer Day?
I did know that. My wife hugged me. You didn't know, Marv.
I wasn't around you to hug me.
It's probably
And I'm not sure I would have.
Yeah, right.
The best show, I'm not sure what the best show would be. We've had a lot of great shows.
I tell you, literally one of the most enjoyable was when we got to do the stadium this past year.
Yes.
At CMA Fest.
Yeah.
I mean, man, that literally was kind of like the epitome of knowing that we were in this business, and kind of like what we were talking about earlier, knowing this comeback was, man, this thing's for real.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you something. 9 years ago, we wouldn't have got within 15 miles of that place. Not for us to perform.
Yeah. Wow.
And then here we were, we were opening it up, the performances and you get charged up and you get fired up, man. You want to get everybody in the right, frame of mind. So we get out there and kick it. And man, it was a good feeling. Man, the crowd was great. And country music lovers, they all mask on this town and they come to listen to whoever it is. They come to listen and enjoy, and we tried to give them the old what for, and when it was over with, it sure was nice to say that we've done it. Sure was.
That's cool, man.
We drank a couple Frescas before we got up there. And we
Y'all better put your cap on backwards. I don't know if you're going or coming.
You better put your cap on. You ain't gonna know whether you're going or coming.
Who's left to collab with for you guys? Is there anyone on the list that you would love to work with?
I would love to sing with Dolly.
Okay.
I truly would. I'd love to sing with Dolly. And always have. Her and Porter did a song, and she and Bill Phillips had wrote a song years ago called "Put It Off Until Tomorrow." And Bill Phillips, I went to the Sanford Civic Center, Sanford, Florida. That's where I'm from, and Kitty West and Bobby Wright and then we're there at the Civic Center, and Bill Phillips was with them on that package show, and he sang that, and he'd mentioned that Dolly Parton, had helped him write it. And, man, I liked the way he did it. And then I heard Dolly and Porter do it. And, it's just been one of them kind. I just thought, man, I'd give anything in the world if I could sing that with her. So.
Put it out in the
who
world.
knows?
Yeah. All right. And what do you guys think about Reba on The Voice? You guys have any Reba stories?
I hadn't caught that yet. I've seen the commercials, but I hadn't caught it yet.
Okay.
Do
you guys have any old Reba stories? Were you guys friends back in the day? Are you friends?
But no, actually at that time, we were kind of that was a different circle than what we were running in. She'd already made it and was literally at the superstar status, by the time we'd come around and
Reba recorded one of my songs. I was a songwriter before I got into the Shenandoah thing.
Okay.
She recorded a song that me, Robert Byrne, who was our record producer actually in early Shenandoah days, and Mark Beeson wrote this song called "I Wouldn't Know," and we had recorded it. It actually got recorded by like 4 or 5 different artists, and I remember the song plugger that played it for Reba. I don't know why he played it to her, because she wanted to record it. And he said, well, you can't record it because, they're fixing this guy's over here is recorded it, and they're talking about it being the next single. And she said, well, let me know if it's going to be, because I love this song. And this guy said that she called him every week wanting to know the status of the song. And she finally said, well, the heck with it. I'm going to cut it. I love the song.
Wow.
So she recorded it, and never was a single, but I got a Reba cut.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, it was cool.
And you guys still actively writing?
Not as much as we used to. It's so hard to get anything even heard in this.
Yeah, Shenandoah kind of ruined our writing career.
I love it. That's where my heart, when I first got in the music business, that's what my heart, where it was at, was as a songwriter. Uh-huh. And I can still remember I got a T. Graham Brown single one day, and he called me at the studio down in Muscle Shoals at Fame recording studio. And the girl at the front desk said, "Hey, Mike, you got a call on line 1." And I answered it and said, "Hello, it's Mike." And he said, "Mike McGuire?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Hey, this is your old friend T. Graham Brown. I'm just calling and letting you know you got my next single, brother." And I was like, "What?"
Wow.
T. Graham Brown's calling me. I didn't know if I was more surprised that I was getting the next single on him or that he personally called me. That just meant so much to me that the artist would personally pick up the phone and call.
That's cool, man.
The old T's good about that, though.
But yeah, we were songwriters. I was, and my brother was. That's how I met Marty. Matter of fact, my brother, they were writing for Larry Butler. But,
yeah, we were.
Songs, I think that's one of the reasons Marty was talking earlier about songs. It's all about the song. I don't care how good a singer you are. If you don't have a great song to sing, you don't have anything. And so I think our ability to write songs helped us a whole lot when it came time to start picking songs for us to record. And thank goodness we weren't so greedy that we wanted to just record our songs. Now we did. Me and Marty and Bob McDill wrote "If Bubba Can Dance, I Can Too." So it's not like we didn't have songs that we wrote that we recorded. We did. But at the same time, we felt like, we need to record the best songs we can find.
And we also wanted to show everybody we had a little humor as well, too. But, there's a big difference between a good song and a great song.
Sure is.
And, man, if you didn't bring that to the listening session, somebody else plays one that it is.
Yeah, this town's full of great songwriters. They know how to write songs. And, you're not going to hear a bad song. The trick is being able to hear through a good song.
Okay.
Like Marty was saying, and find that great song.
Yeah.
Tough town.
Yeah. Very tough.
But it's a good place to find them.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they're everywhere. Yeah.
At least you're kind of centrally located where you need to go to get them.
Go fishing. Yeah. Well, thank y'all for stopping by. I appreciate that. Yeah.
And we appreciate you having us, and thanks for letting us get on and peddle our wares, Evan. It's been good being with you, bud.
Oh, thank you, man. Next time we'll have Frescas.
Sounds good. Don't forget to turn your hat around.
Yeah. Keep your hat turned around.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, bro.
All right, let's bring in Billy Dukes from behind the camera. Talk about this interview. What's happening?
I really just want to talk about Fresca.
Yeah,
Fresca.
Man. I didn't even know they still made it. I guess I haven't really looked, but... Yeah, I didn't know.
The best part was when he came through CMA Radio Row about a month later, he brought it back up. Like he was all in on that joke.
Yeah, he was totally in on it. I got to be honest, the last time I've seen a Fresca had to be like summer camp when I was like 11. My buddy Corey had a Fresca and everybody wanted one. I remember it was like so good, but one has to wonder, because when Marty was telling me this story, I was thinking to myself, how you can go into like any Rite Aid or Walgreens and still buy a VCR? It's like the bottom shelf, it's dusty, but it's there. Are they buying like all the leftover Fresca, like the dead stock, or is it still being made?
No, I think it's still being made. I bet you if you go to your supermarket, you'd find Fresca on the shelves.
Okay.
In fact, the last time, now it's been a really long time, so this may not be the case any longer, but there's some fast food chain. It's like either Hardee's or Arby's that carries Fresca.
Oh, wow. It's got to be one that is for elderly folks in the early bird specials, like the Outback Steakhouses at 4 p.m.
These guys, man, these guys were so much fun. Marty and Mike, and I don't know, you didn't have a lot of familiarity with Shenandoah, I think, ahead of time, and had never met them before. Did you have any sort of anxieties, or kind of what were you thinking you wanted to know from them as they walked into the room?
Dude, I'm gonna be honest, man. I only had known like one of their songs, and I obviously knew how big they were, but I just wasn't that into them back in the day. So like, I was a little bit nervous when they came in. I didn't really know what to expect, but it's tough because if it's a new artist that you don't know a lot of, they're new and they don't really know what they're doing either. But these guys, they will, I don't know them personally, but I'm sure they would be able to know if you're BSing after doing interviews for 30 years. So that was the only thing that was weighing heavy on me. It was like, I got to act like I'm making it, fake it till I make it. But I was supplied by Billy Dukes with some good questions that kind of helped in learning, and I read their biography and all that. But, there was part of them that was so like sweet and special, like still a relic from the 90s. I don't know if this makes sense, but like Mike was like dressed like it was 1998. And, I'm not dissing him. I'm just saying like it was kind of cool.
Well, and sort of that timeless style, like he wasn't necessarily wearing what was popular in the late 90s for a man to wear. It was just sort of that timeless, like it easily could have fit in that era.
Yeah, like he had the Nike Monarch shoes, like the full like dad era, like anything you would imagine your dad to have been wearing in like 99. That's what they came in. They brought that warm feeling, and they just, I don't know. To me, at first, I was like, oh, man, these guys haven't been on the road in all these years, and Luke Combs just woke them up, with this redo of the song. But I quickly learned, as you can probably tell listening, that, oh, man, these guys have been constantly on the road this entire time.
You know what the other thing that sort of recalled that 90s feel was when they talked about driving down the road on their bus, trying to go to major city to major city and pick up maybe 20 minutes of an Atlanta Braves game. Because back then, and maybe still today, the Atlanta Braves would have been on, was it WGN? One of the UHF stations? Like you could get the Braves, kind of like you could get the Cubs. You could get them just about anywhere. Okay. But I would do that too. Like I'd go through towns and I'd try to pick up different baseball games on the radio. So that kind of it sent me back to another era. Nowadays, you might just have Sirius, and then you got the Braves game on the radio the whole time. Or, you got MLB.com, and you can pay for their TV and get it. But that's another reason that kind of took me back to that sort of era of country music and life.
Yeah, and you got to remember, like back in those days, like when you were going to the bathroom number 2, like you were reading the back of a hairspray bottle, like you were reading toothpaste details and ingredients and stuff. There was nothing to do, but we didn't know any different. And it was interesting to me, like talking to Shenandoah, talking to Garth Brooks and Ronnie Dunn, who had never seen, which you can listen to on episode 41 of this podcast if you go back. They've never seen an episode of Friends or Seinfeld. And then the guys in Shenandoah were talking about, like you said, catching that Braves game. Like, to me, that's just so cool that they were really living the life back then, and they didn't know it. And I'm sure we're going to say the same about us now with some future uninvented technology. Right. But, they were really living the life back then.
So there's two kinds of classic artists like this, and I'd put them in the sort of the classic category. I mean, they had a great career in the 80s and 90s, and there's a group that sort of realized that they had their prime and are realistically past like their commercial peak. Like they're not going to get to the top of the radio charts again. They're not going to sell out arenas again. And they're just really grateful and humble for people who are still really interested in the music. And then there's artists who don't really recognize that's the case. And we've talked to both over the years, but Shenandoah, I mean, I talked to them, I think it was 2 years ago at an event called CRS, and it quickly realized they're just, like, even if they had figured out that maybe you weren't the biggest fan or didn't know a lot about, I think they would have humbly sort of done a little more of the heavy lifting and guided you through the interview, because at the end of the day, that's their interview. That's their time on the radio or on the podcast or whatever it is, and they're not going to let it go just because maybe their interviewer isn't on his game.
Right, yeah, and they were classically trained. Like they did pick up the slack really quick, and it was really nice to see and be a part of. Like I said, they've probably done like 1 million of those, and probably have encountered 1 million me's, and they did pick up the slack. And I thought the most interesting part for me too was hearing how they found out that 2 Dozen Roses was getting covered by Luke Combs. Like they had no clue until people were sending them videos, and they're like, oh man. And then they had the wherewithal and the smarts to say, well, we're going to get on it and re-record it before someone else does, and we'll just get Combs on it because they're right. Like, look at Joe D. Messina, with Heads Carolina and Cole Swindell, and that's happening right now. People are reinventing, 90s country songs, and I think they saw that was about to happen to theirs. Do you think Luke would have done it on his own, or someone else would have done that on their own without them?
No, I don't think he would have cut a version of that just for his record. No. People just aren't doing covers like that any longer. I mean, obviously Luke just had the big one with Fast Car, but that was kind of a different kind of deal because it was like an all-time influential song, and it's not. You can't hear that song. You couldn't hear Fast Car on country radio at all, whereas you probably can still pick up Shenandoah songs on country radio these days here and there. But no, I don't think anybody would have covered it in an official capacity.
Interesting. Well, I thought it was good on them for being aware to cut it before someone else did, and hopefully they're making some money off of it. Although I've seen some articles about Spotify lately that I don't know if they're making any money off
Unless
anything.
Unless you're Taylor Swift.
Right, yeah, making that was $100 million last year. Yeah.
So some other '90s artists I would love to sort of see, you mentioned Jody Messina, and then Shenandoah. I think Diamond Rio would be a really cool artist to sort of bring back into the fold. Joe Diffie's getting a little bit of love now, which is kind of the strangest thing to me. Like Hardy and Post Malone are making a Joe Diffie album of songs. Which is sort of bizarre.
Yeah.
John Michael Montgomery, I think it would be a super cool artist to sort of have a heyday again, although I don't know necessarily if he's singing or performing at this stage of his life. I'm not sure where he's at vocally. But there's just so much depth there, I think, in the catalog. People used to do this all the time. Like back in the 80s and 90s, it was really, really common to cover and record and release old songs to country radio, maybe even a song that was just released 10 years ago, and run it back up the charts again. Like that happened all the time, and I think radio was kind of better for it.
Look who just did it. Toby Keith.
Toby Keith, that's a good example, yeah.
With Don't Let the Old Man In. Like, what was it when he first put it out? Like, wasn't it like a semi-stiff?
It was, yeah. It was 2018, I believe, and I think it cracked the top 40, and, it was just a big old ballad. So it was kind of like a weird song a little bit, maybe for some people. But it's a big hit now, at least in terms of the streaming and the sales audience, if not the radio airplay yet.
I will say, though, on like Amazon Music, sometimes they have songs that are recut by artists like you're talking about, like years later, and they're just not as good. I don't know if it's just their voice changes and stuff, and maybe it is as good. It just sounds different than what you're used to. So I don't know. I'm a little skeptical about that. I got burned by Everclear. That was like my favorite band, and then on Amazon Music, they re-released all their stuff with Art re-singing everything, and it's just not there.
Well, you know why artists do that, don't you?
To make some money?
Well, I mean, that is the long and short of it, but they're trying to sort of reclaim the rights to their song. They're basically doing what Taylor Swift has done without being so transparent about it. Like,
just kind of re-record. I gotcha.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
They're getting new versions on their own labels because maybe they're songs that they didn't write, so they're not getting songwriting royalties any longer. So they want those mechanicals, so they re-record it on like their own label. That way they can get some of those streams and some of that airplay. It's a pretty crafty idea if you still got it. But yeah, I think in 9 times out of 10, the song isn't as good as your first experience with it.
Yeah. Oh, if I was an artist, man, like that, I would just do it like what Al Dean and I think Sam Hunt just did. I would just cash out, man. I would just be like, sell it to somebody and not just be like, here you go, give me my money.
You know who else just sold their publishing? Jordan Davis, who I didn't think he had like that depth of I mean, he's a new artist. He's got some great songs, but I didn't think his catalog was so deep that he would get millions for it or even think about selling at the age he is now. But yeah, he cashed in.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go. I think a lot of artists are starting to do that too. Like they're realizing, I don't know, there's just so much on the back end now with like streaming and half cents and quarter cents and yeah. I mean, that's what it would just make it a lot easier. But you're probably in the long run maybe losing money. Who knows?
Would you agree to a deal where you got paid a quarter cent a listener?
No, I don't. I mean, I don't think so. That's crazy to me.
Let's say the math worked out that you got paid like a quarter cent per listener, and right now when you signed that deal, like your paycheck was similar or a little better. You were a bit better off, but long term, it'd fluctuate. Would you still take the deal?
Yeah,
I wouldn't. I don't think I would take the deal.
Would you take the payout on the lottery or the overtime?
I believe I could probably invest it fairly well.
Interesting. See, I would be the opposite on that. I would take the overtime because of the opposite.
I had a family friend that won the lottery when I was growing up, and he did the overtime over the 20 years.
Oh, how'd it work out?
Well, a lot of times those lottery winners, they get divorced or, they get sued or things like that. And it's worked out really well for him. He, it's been 20 or 30 years now, so he's past his 20-minute window. But, had a normal life with a happy marriage, kids, and all the things. I think he kept his job, and it was just kind of a blue-collar kind of job. And it wasn't like hundreds of millions. I think he ended up winning like maybe 3 to 5 million or something like that.
So enough to go to the doctor.
Yeah, enough to pay these new these new copays.
Yeah, you got Amazon Prime for a year. Yeah, that's nice. Nice amount of money there.